On April 19, 1775, the American Revolution began with a single shot heard around the world. In the towns of Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts, British soldiers clashed with colonial militiamen, marking the start of a long and bloody war for independence. In this video, we'll explore the events that led up to the Battle of Lexington and Concord, the battle itself, and its lasting impact on American history. The tensions between the British and the colonists had been brewing for years. The British had imposed a series of taxes and regulations on the colonies, sparking outrage among the colonists who believed they were being unfairly treated. The colonists, on the other hand, believed they were entitled to the same rights as British citizens. In 1773, the colonists took a bold step by staging the Boston Tea Party, in which they dumped a shipment of tea into Boston Harbor to protest the British tea tax. This act of rebellion angered the British, who responded by imposing even harsher measures on the colonies. In the spring of 1775, tensions between the British and the colonists reached a boiling point. British General Thomas Gage ordered his troops to seize a cache of weapons that the colonists had stored in Concord. Paul Revere and other writers sounded the alarm, warning the colonists of the British advance. On the morning of April 19, 1775, a small group of colonial militiamen gathered on Lexington Green. As the British marched through Lexington, they encountered the militiamen who refused to disperse. Shots were fired, and the skirmish quickly turned into a full-fledged battle. 8 colonists were killed, and the British soldiers continued on to Concord. By the time the British reached Concord, the colonists had mobilized and were ready to defend their town. The British soldiers were met with fierce resistance and were forced to retreat. The colonial militiamen harried the British as they made their way back to Boston, inflicting heavy casualties along the way. The Battle of Lexington and Concord was a clear victory for the colonists and marked the first time that American forces had defeated a British army. The legacy of the battle lives on today in the form of the Minuteman statue in Concord, which commemorates the bravery of the colonial militiamen who stood up to the British on that fateful day. The Battle of Lexington and Concord was a turning point in American history. It galvanized the colonists and led to the formation of the Second Continental Congress, which would go on to declare independence from Great Britain in 1776. The battle also marked the beginning of the American Revolution, which would continue for another 8 years. The Battle of Lexington and Concord remains a powerful symbol of American courage and determination. It showed that the colonists were willing to fight and die for their freedom, and it inspired future generations of Americans to do the same. Today, we remember the brave men who fought and died on that fateful day, and we honor their memory by continuing to fight for the values of liberty and justice for all.